Hello, and welcome to our study of dispensationalism. I am looking forward to our time together in this course because, to me, when I think about evangelical hermeneutics being a historical grammatical hermeneutic, which is the traditional evangelical hermeneutic, and I combine that with understanding the Holy Bible dispensationally, I see both of these systems working hand in glove, hand in hand as it were, because both traditional dispensationalism and evangelical hermeneutics are really born out of the same respect for Scripture, which is to interpret the Bible plainly, normally, literal interpretation, seeing a distinction between Israel and the church, because the Bible clearly suggests there is such a distinction, and also seeing that there is a future for Israel beyond the church age, that the church is not the new Israel, the church has not replaced the old Israel in any way. Now, having said all that, I think it will be important for you as a member of this group to, if you've not studied dispensationalism at all, and now you find yourself in this course studying basically advanced dispensationalism, special issues in dispensationalism, it could be helpful to you to study some of Dr. Ryrie's earlier works, either his original text from the 60s called Dispensationalism Today, which is quite good and it defines our school's position on dispensationalism, or Dr. Ryrie's more recently updated version of that, which is simply titled Dispensationalism. Now, in his latter work, Dispensationalism, Dr. Ryrie not only covers the basics of what dispensationalism is, and talking about 7 dispensations in the Bible and things like this, and the sine qua non of dispensationalism, he also covers in that latter book some of the issues that are explored in this text by Bagalki, and the matter particularly of progressive dispensationalism. So we have an exciting study ahead of us, and according to the syllabus, we'll be doing a number of things each week, dealing with terms. We'll have some quizzes. I've got some lectures I prepared that you will view, and you'll do some reading reports as well and some writing. So we'll have a very busy 7 weeks together, but Lord willing, this will be very impactful to your life. I know that for myself, when I became a believer, one of the earliest books I read was Dispensationalism Today by Dr. Ryrie, and it really gave me a framework for understanding the Bible. I see it this way. God created man in innocence, and man had no experience at all with wrong. Man only had this blank slate, that is Adam and Eve. They had the capacity to do evil but had no previous experience with it. Once Adam and Eve fell, then something told them they were naked. You know, God asked them, "Who told you you were naked?" Well, it was the voice of their conscience. And so conscience came about when Adam and Eve felt the need to clothe themselves. So the first dispensation is innocence, and then by eating the forbidden fruit, Adam and Eve were punished by being banished from the garden, and then that brought in the dispensation of conscience. And following at the end of conscience in Genesis 6, man had become so evil, so demonized and full of demons, according to Genesis 6, that God punished mankind with a worldwide flood. And we've gone from innocence to conscience. Noah gets off the ark, and God gives him this concept of human government, that man has the right to carry out capital punishment. That's the main issue there in Genesis 9, the Noahic covenant. By Genesis 12, God has called Abraham and given him the promise. So we've gone from innocence, conscience, human government, to promise. Now, we're no longer in innocence, but we still have a conscience, we still have human government, and the promise of a nation of Israel in the land of Israel is still with us. When Moses went on Mount Sinai, received the 10 Commandments, that began the dispensation of the law. He received the law of Moses, and then law governed most of the Old Testament. And then in the New Testament era, to Paul was given the dispensation of grace. It says in Ephesians 3. And then Ephesians 1 talks about there is a dispensation of the fullness of times, plural. That's in Ephesians chapter 1. That would be the millennial kingdom. So there's innocence, punishment by banishment from the garden, conscience, worldwide flood punishment, government, Tower of Babel punishment, promise, enslavement in Egypt punishment, law, destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70 was the punishment, Grace is our current dispensation. The future punishment and judgment is the 7-year tribulation that's coming. And then in the millennial kingdom, that's the 7th dispensation. And the judgment at the end of that is the lake of fire. And then the eternal state begins. So that's kind of the gist, the scriptural flow of 7 dispensations, which I always teach, I believe, and Bagalki also believes in. So, fasten your seatbelts and just get excited for some fairly complex reading, but we'll work together through this. And Lord willing, have a great course. My name is Brian Moulton. I born and raised in Minnesota, became a Christian at age 21, completely changed my life. Knew I wanted to go into ministry, so I studied for 9 years at Dallas Theological Seminary, earning my master's and my PhD, both in biblical studies. And I've been in California now since the year 2000, teaching at Southern California Seminary and at San Diego Christian College. And these have been some great years in California with a lot of exciting Bible teaching opportunities. So having said that, God bless you in your studies, and we'll look forward to interacting in the weeks to come.